So I want to cover how to retreat from your opponent, but at the same time keeping yourself safe. I think we understand that if I'm moving backwards, my opponent can advance quicker than I can go backwards, and eventually I'm going to hit the wall. So one of the things I like as a longer range guy, because I'm 6'5", is there are two ways you can do this. One, you simply take a step back, at the same time you're extending your lead hand. And then you bring your lead back, your lead foot the same distance you stepped with the rear. So basically if I take a small step, boom, like this, and I reset. Another step, bam, extend, come back. Now when I'm resetting, I'm essentially bringing my lead foot at the same time. It's basically this. Think of it like if you're in your stance, whatever your stance is, you are having your hand out like this, taking that rear step back, and coming back like this. Now, if you want to deliver some sort of more of a damaging shot, what you can do instead is rear step, pam. Rear step, boom. Rear step, bam. So when you bring that lead leg, that's when you throw out the jab. So when you're doing it that way, your retreating shot will be that much more impactful. So I want to talk about the hand placement, because a lot of times you'll see people argue, well, you should have your hands down, you can, move your head, all this stuff. And while your hands being down, it can afford you, slicker head movement, you can do all sorts of fancy stuff and whatever. But if you're not skilled, it's always best to err on the side of caution and be defensively responsible. Now, you may have heard this term, answer the phone, right? So if you're standing orthodox, which I am, you would ideally have your right hand answering the phone, like hello, 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 you're answering the phone. But with me being a rangy guy, I have long range, I have a pretty decent range, right? If I'm doing that, the time it takes for my right hand, my cross, to reach its target is significantly longer than if I were to have my hand out here and then the distance is cut ever so slightly. Also, bear this in mind. If you're dealing against somebody who has a shorter range than you, there's no need to be mindful of anything coming around the side, because if you have the reach advantage, the only real danger is the straight line shot. Because typically anybody, you can see anybody's hook angle just by you extend your arm, right, like so, and you just bend it. There is your hook. There's your hook. Now, of course, you have longer hooks, but a lot of fighters aren't using those, and it is a bit of a risk, because anytime you're throwing any kind of hooking motion, a straight cross will beat that out every time. So it's a bit of a risk. So my argument is simply this: if you know you have the reach advantage, and you can establish this very early on by just simply, having an active lead hand, controlling your opponent's lead hand, where keeping it at a range where you can touch them but they can't really effectively touch you. You already know that your rear hand does not have to be glued to the side of your head. It doesn't. Because the only viable thing range-wise that they can strike you with are their jabs and their crosses. So if you're like this, keeping your hand like so, that means you can get into an exchange because you have this right hand in front of you, like this. This hand. So if I'm jabbing you and you jabbing me, I'm gonna pick yours off with my hand while at the same time I'm peppering you. I'm peppering you. So when you can establish that, I feel that will be much more effective for the taller fighter. Now, of course, if the shorter fighter gets in, now that's where you have to kind of like, shell up, do all this defense. It doesn't make sense to still fight tall when your opponent is on the inside, because now all of this is exposed. So now you have to kind of come like this, at least long enough to either clinch them, move them away, or you can try to weather the storm however way you can and just pivot out. Whether you pivot out going outside with the Cuban Soviet check and goes like so, or you can just use the rear leg and do like that. So there are options, but I feel like before it gets to that critical moment where the shorter fighter has that advantage over you, in my opinion, be smart, be responsible defensively, and maintain that range. If you are not already subscribed, please do so. It is free to do so, and you'll be doing me a huge kindness because I am trying to grow on this channel. I would love to get monetized before I turn the age of 60 years old. So definitely with your help, you can help me achieve that so I can keep pushing out this type of content and grow over time and get even better. So thank you very much if you have subscribed. If you have not, hopefully I'll earn that subscription in the future.